Part 1. The rusty groan of the old wooden door echoes the ache in Xie Yunshu's heart. Sunlight, a cruel intrusion, stings her eyes as she steps out of the dim confinement. A nurse's disdainful look, a constant reminder of the judgment she faces. Dr. Lu, her husband, the man everyone admires, the man who put her here. The whispers follow her like shadows. Single mother, unworthy, crazy. The cold winter air bites, a physical echo of the chill in her soul. The nurse's taunts cut through the silence. 5 days. 5 days of cold, hunger, and fever. 5 days locked away, dismissed as hysterical for daring to defend her marriage. The rage, banked and smoldering, flares at the nurse's careless words. She walks away, the nurse's words echoing in the frigid air. The injustice burns, the memory of the slap she delivered to her husband's friend, Zhou Xinyue, a small act of defiance in a world determined to break her. Lu Zhixing, her husband, waits outside. His concern, a thin veneer over the betrayal. He drapes his coat over her shoulders, a familiar gesture that now feels alien, tainted by the scent of another woman's soap. His words are a justification, a minimization of his actions. He speaks of Xie Yunshu's vulnerability, her single motherhood. But where is his concern for his wife, the woman he branded as insane and locked away? The familiar anger simmers, threatening to boil over. 50 yuan a month, their apartment given to another woman. And she's the crazy one? The absurdity of it all claws at her throat. Home. The scent of cooking meat fills the air, a domestic facade. Lu Zhixing, the caring husband, the attentive cook. But beneath the surface, the memory of the dream, the 10 years of pain and betrayal, churns. This is just the beginning. The remnants of dinner lay on the table, a silent testament to a changed dynamic. Xie Yunshu stares, a bitter taste rising in her throat. Once, she saw love in these shared meals. Now, only the sting of servitude. Why did I cater to him? She thinks, the question a burning ember in her heart. Lu Zhixing sets down his bowl, the weight of the silence finally registering. He speaks, offering an explanation, a word that now rings hollow. About Xinyue, I can explain. Xie Yunshu stands at the bedroom door, his words echoing the empty promises of the past. His past excuses, his dismissive tone, flood back, mocking her present pain. The whispers of judgment, the label of madwoman, still cling to her like a shroud. A cold resolve hardens her gaze. This time, there will be no pleading, no self-inflicted torment. This time, she wants only one thing, freedom. This time, I just want my life back and the money I'm owed. Lu Zhixing continues, his words a tangled web of obligation and guilt, of debts he claims to owe. It's what our family owes Xinyue. I have to repay it. The familiar justifications only deepen Xie Yunshu's cynicism. Xie Yunshu's voice, sharp and cold, cuts through his excuses. Why should I pay for your family's debts? She demands, the injustice burning in her eyes. She remembers the lost job, the whispers, the humiliation, all sacrifices made in the name of a marriage that offered her nothing but pain. Lu Zhixing stumbles, the realization of his carelessness hitting him like a physical blow. I'll take care of you, he promises, the words sounding weak even to his own ears. He offers a lifetime of support, a hollow consolation prize for a life already shattered. Xie Yunshu wipes away a tear, a gesture of defiance, not weakness. She sees through his empty promises, the same ones that kept her chained to a life of misery. This time, she will not be swayed. 3,000 yuan and a divorce, she declares, her voice unwavering. No! Lu Zhixing's voice cracks, the word a desperate plea. He staggers, his composure crumbling. The bowl on the table crashes to the floor, a sharp counterpoint to his disintegrating world. He pleads with her, his pride forgotten in the face of her unwavering resolve. A sweet, innocent voice cuts through the tension. Zhou Xinyue stands in the doorway, a picture of delicate vulnerability. Her words, a carefully crafted performance, add another layer of bitterness to Xie Yunshu's already overflowing cup. The shattered bowl lay on the floor, a symbol of the fractured peace. Xie Yunshu's voice, sharp and cold, cuts through the tense air. Zhou Xinyue's eyes well with tears, a practice performance. She turns to Lu Zhixing, her unspoken plea hanging heavy in the room. Lu Zhixing, caught in the crossfire, feels a familiar wave of irritation. The word divorce still echoes in his mind. He dismisses Xinu, seeking a temporary reprieve from the escalating conflict. Xinu feigns obedience, her words dripping with false concern. Yunshu watches the performance with a cynical smile. This charade is wearing thin. Why is every little issue brought to Lu Zhixing? As Xinu lingers at the doorway, a frantic woman bursts into the courtyard, shattering the tense calm. News of an accident, a child's injury, throws the scene into chaos. Xinyue's distress is palpable, another act in her ongoing play. Lu Zhixing, ever the rescuer, springs into action. Without hesitation, he rushes to help, his concern for the child eclipsing the simmering tension with Yunshu. Xinu showers him with gratitude, her words laced with a subtle possessiveness. As Lu Zhixing turns to leave, he remembers Yunshu, a flicker of guilt, quickly overshadowed by the urgency of the situation. He tells Yunshu they will talk later, a promise he may not keep. As they leave, Xinu glances back at Yunshu, a triumphant smirk replacing her earlier distress. The mask falls away, revealing the victor in this silent battle. Yunshu is left standing alone, the weight of their departure heavy in the air. Yunshu watches them go, their retreating figures a picture of unity. A bitter laugh escapes her lips. The charade is over. It's time to take control. Xie Yunshu calmly presents her dismissal letter, a cruel document branding her with a mental illness. She fixes Li, the factory director, with a knowing look. Her words hang in the air, a threat veiled in righteous indignation. Li's composure cracks. The union. Jingbei. The implications ripple through him. He knows he's vulnerable. His offer of a future position is a thinly veiled attempt to appease her, a desperate stall tactic. Xie Yunshu sees through his empty promise. A future position is a mirage in a struggling factory. She lays out her demand, compensation. It's not just about the money. It's about justice for her father, for his legacy. Li is stunned by the amount. 6,000 yuan. It's a fortune. His immediate refusal is instinctive, a knee-jerk reaction to what he perceives as an outrageous demand. Xie Yunshu remains calm. She knows her leverage. The union hangs over Li like a sword of Damocles. His secrets make him vulnerable. She calls his bluff, ready to escalate the situation. Li's internal struggle is visible. He's trapped between his greed and his fear. He raises his offer, a desperate attempt to avoid scrutiny. The specter of investigation looms large. Xie Yunshu pushes just a little further. 5,000. It's a final gambit, a test of Li's desperation. She holds the winning hand. Li caves. Defeated, he agrees. He wants this over, this threat to his precarious house of cards neutralized. The agreement is struck, a victory hard won. Xie Yunshu leaves the factory, the weight of the past lifting with each step. This wasn't just a job. It was a piece of her father. But now a new chapter begins. She pedals towards home, the familiar streets blurring past. Her thoughts drift to her mother, to the worry etched on her face, and to her brother, his youthful anger a fierce shield against the world's injustices. Guilt mingles with resolve. She'll face them, stronger now, with a new weapon in her arsenal. Xie Yunshu arrives at their humble apartment. The number 106, a stark reminder of their modest life. The door opens, revealing her mother, Li Fenlin, her face etched with worry and relief. 10 years, a lifetime, the dam of emotion breaks. Xie Yunshu collapses into her mother's arms, the words tumbling out, a mixture of grief and longing. The guilt gnaws at her. The confession of losing her father's job is a heavy burden to bear. But her mother's response is not anger, but unwavering love. Li Fenlin produces a wad of money, a testament to a mother's sacrifice. Her words a balm, to Xie Yunshu's wounded spirit. It's a powerful moment, a silent understanding passing between them. A new resolve solidifies in Xie Yunshu's heart. In the quiet of her mother's home, Xie Yunshu's dream echoes with the harsh realities of her life. Her mother, Li Finlan, offers her hard-earned money, a lifeline she desperately wants to refuse. The weight of past mistakes and strained relationships hangs heavy in the air. Yunshu pushes back. The money is symbol of her mother's sacrifice. Li Finland's worry etches deep lines on her face, her words laced with fear and regret. She blames herself for Yunshu's unhappy marriage, the weight of her daughters pain a heavy burden. Calmer now, Yunshu reveals the severance pay, a small victory in a string of defeats. She wants to provide for her family, to ease their burdens. A flicker of hope ignites in the dim room. Li Finland's surprise quickly turns to suspicion. The mention of money triggers a protective instinct. She knows the kind of man Lu Zhixing is, and her fear for Yunshu's future intensifies. Yunshu declares her intention to divorce, a bold statement that hangs in the air. The word divorce shatters the fragile peace, replaced by a new, uncertain tension. Li Finland's heart sinks. Divorce is a drastic step, a path fraught with uncertainty. She sees the pain in her daughter's eyes, but clings to the hope of reconciliation. Yunshu reassures her mother, a fierce determination replacing the vulnerability. She's ready to stand on her own 2 feet, to rebuild her life, brick by brick. Meanwhile, Lu Zhixing leaves the hospital, Zhou Xinyue's gratitude echoing behind him. His thoughts drift to Yunshu, a flicker of unease in his heart. A pang of guilt leads him to buy a treat, a small gesture to appease the storm brewing at home. The sweet scent of the pastry fills the air, a stark contrast to the bitterness of his marriage. He arrives home to a dark, empty house. The darkness mirrors the void in his relationship, the silence amplifying his growing unease. Lu Zhixing enters his dark apartment, a knot of unease tightening in his chest. The familiar warmth, the comforting yellow light, the waiting meal, all gone. 5 days in the hospital felt like a lifetime. He'd made a difficult choice, protecting Xinyu's reputation, sacrificing his wife's comfort. But the echoing silence of his home now whispers a different kind of sacrifice. A neighbor's voice breaks through his thoughts, a flurry of concern and judgment about Xinyu's child, about Yunshu. He defends his wife reflexively, a flicker of guilt mixing with irritation. The neighbor's words sting, a reminder of the social pressures that weigh upon them. The neighbor's gossip continues, a litany of Yunshu's perceived failings, the unspoken accusations hanging in the air. Lu Zhixing's patience snaps. He defends Yunshu again, his voice cold, a wall rising between him and the prying eyes of the courtyard. Alone again, fatigue washes over him. He sits in the darkness, grappling with the weight of his decisions. He justified his actions, Xinyu's vulnerability, his obligation to her father. But the emptiness of the apartment amplifies his guilt. He had tried to make amends, explanations, a home-cooked meal, promises of lifelong care. But it wasn't enough. He turns on the light, revealing a room stripped bare. Her mirror, her clothes, her shoes gone. A fresh wave of anger rises, replacing guilt with resentment. He sees the uneaten haidang cake, a symbol of his failed attempts at reconciliation. His anger hardens into resolve. Let her cool off, he thinks, the bitterness of the thought masked by a false sense of control. He believes she'll return, unable to comprehend the finality of her departure. Yunshu, free from the suffocating confines of her marriage, focuses on a new purpose: survival. Lu Zhixing is a ghost of her past. Her mind sharpens, calculating, driven by a single, powerful desire: to make money. Her mother's worried voice fills the small room, urging her to find another factory job, to seek the security of a stable life. Yunshu, however, sees a different path, one paved with her own ambition. She unveils her plan, a spark of defiance in her eyes. She envisions a future built on her own terms: a food cart, a growing business, a life free from dependence. Her brother's education is paramount, a promise for a better future for him. And then, a thought crosses her mind, a flicker of satisfaction. Lu Zhixing's dead. It's hers now. Her mother sighs, a familiar sound of resignation. Yunshu, sensing her mother's despair, paints a picture of a brighter future. A large courtyard, filled with fragrant magnolias, a symbol of the peace and prosperity she will create. Xie Yunshu smiles, a bittersweet curve of her lips. Her gaze falls upon her mother's hands, rough and worn, a testament to years of relentless toil. Those hands, patched with tape, tell a story of sacrifice, a sacrifice Yunshu knows all too well. 300 yuan, a pittance earned through back-breaking labor, offered to her without hesitation. Yunshu's heart aches. Men, what are they compared to a mother's love? A resolve hardens within her. She will provide. Yunshu takes the cooking spoon, a symbolic gesture of taking control. A forced lightness enters her voice, a veil over the unshed tears. We're rich now. We'll eat meat every day. A promise, a declaration of a new beginning. Li Fenlin scolds her daughter playfully, relieved to see her spirit unbroken. But beneath the surface, worry gnaws at her. 8,000 yuan, a lifeline, a future. Don't be silly, she chides gently, her mind heavy with unspoken anxieties. The door opens, and Xie Mingqing enters, a young man on the cusp of adulthood. He bears a striking resemblance to Yunshu, the same sharp eyes, the same determined set to his jaw. A familiar comfort settles over Yunshu, family, her anchor in the storm. Sister, you're home. Mingqing's voice is filled with surprise, then a flicker of concern. His eyes scan the room, searching for a presence that isn't there. Alone, he asks, a question heavy with unspoken meaning. Yunshu's silence is a shield, protecting her brother from a pain she doesn't want him to bear. The memory of his youthful rage, his misplaced loyalty, it stings. This time, things will be different. She will protect him. Mingqing sees his sister's tears, and his protective instincts roar to life. What's wrong? His voice, laced with fear and anger. The world narrows to his sister's pain, and a familiar rage begins to simmer. Yunshu pulls her brother down, a calming touch against his rising anger. I'm divorcing Lu Zhixing. The words hang in the air, a bombshell dropped into their quiet lives. The truth, finally revealed. Gossip spreads like wildfire through the hospital compound. Chen Shui, ever the gossip monger, relishes in Xie Yunshu's misfortune. Her words, sharp and pointed, paint Yunshu as a foolish woman who doesn't know a good thing when she has it. Is Yunshu truly naive? Or is there more to this story? Zhou Xinyue arrives, a picture of fashionable innocence. She inquires about Lu Zhixing, her concern masking a subtle undercurrent. Her gaze flickers towards his room, a silent question hanging in the air. What is the true nature of her relationship with Zhixing? Chen Shui, fueled by schadenfreude, reveals Yunshu's departure. Xie Yunshu reacts with feigned distress, her words dripping with manufactured guilt. Is she truly upset, or is this another performance? Li Jia's wife observes the scene, her silence heavy with unspoken thoughts. She sees the manipulation, the subtle digs, the carefully crafted facade. Will she remain a silent observer, or will she speak the truth? Lu Zhixing, fresh from surgery, is confronted with the absence of his wife. His routine, once so predictable, is now disrupted. He dismisses her departure as a temporary tantrum, but a flicker of uncertainty crosses his face. Does he truly understand Yunshu? Cheng Fan, Zhixing's assistant, innocently inquires about the missing lunch. He reminisces about Yunshu's cooking, a stark contrast to Zhixing's cold indifference. Zhixing's dismissive response reveals a deeper disconnect. Is he blind to his wife's devotion? Zhixing finds himself standing outside the hospital, his stomach empty, his routine broken. The simple act of getting lunch becomes a reminder of Yunshu's absence. He recalls her daily efforts, a pang of guilt mixing with his hunger. Xie Yunshu appears, ever the timely rescuer. Her offer of a shared meal is a carefully veiled attempt to further wedge herself into Zhixing's life. Her concern, though seemingly genuine, carries a subtle edge of manipulation. Is Zhixing truly oblivious to her motives? Zhixing declines, his words a surprising affirmation of Yunshu's influence. He chooses to return to an empty home, a silent testament to his wife's unseen presence. Is this a sign of loyalty or simply habit? Xie Yunshu presses, weaving a tale of hardship and vulnerability. Her tears flow freely, a calculated display of helplessness. Zhixing, blinded by his sense of obligation, falls deeper into her carefully constructed trap. Will he ever see the truth behind her performance? Xie Yunshu wipes away tears, a fragile smile replacing the sorrow. She offers companionship, a gesture of gratitude cloaked in practicality. But Zhixing hesitates. A shadow of doubt crosses his face. Is this kindness or something more? Xie Yunshu presses, her words carefully chosen, a declaration of innocence. She speaks of moving out, of Yunshu's anger, the key a tangible symbol of surrender. Zhixing relents, relief washing over him at the prospect of Yunshu's return. They ride, a silent journey filled with unspoken anxieties. Zhixing's thoughts drift to Yunshu, a phantom presence in the empty house. The silence amplifies his fear, the unknown weight of her absence pressing down on him. Watching from her window, Yunshu gossips, her words laced with judgment. She sees a perfect match, oblivious to the tangled web of emotions beneath the surface. Her husband, Zhang Qingshan, frowns. Something feels wrong. Yunshu fuels the fire of gossip, her whispers painting a picture of a preordained love story. She dismisses Yunshu, reducing her to a temporary inconvenience in the grand scheme of things. Her focus is on the future, on the potential benefits of aligning herself with the right side. Meanwhile, Yunshu pedals through the city streets, her mind a whirlwind of anxieties. She's adrift, searching for a way to navigate this unfamiliar landscape of unemployment and uncertainty. She surveys her surroundings, a city teeming with opportunity, yet none seem to fit. The bustling marketplace, filled with vendors, mocks her with its abundance, highlighting her own lack of direction. Her gaze settles on the construction site, a symbol of hard labor and resilience. A memory surfaces, a poignant reminder of her brother's struggles and her mother's compassion. An idea sparks, a flicker of hope in the darkness. The calculations run through her mind, a rapid assessment of costs and profits. The numbers solidify her resolve. This isn't just a job, it's a lifeline, a chance to reclaim her independence. Fueled by a newfound purpose, she sets off, the image of a three-wheeled cart and sacks of rice filling her mind. This is just the beginning, the first pedal stroke towards a future she will build for herself. Dusk settles, painting the sky in shades of gray. Xie Yunshu, her face flushed with exertion and a determined smile, returns from the market, her new three-wheeled cart overflowing. "Mom, come help me with this," she calls out, the cold air doing little to cool her burning cheeks. A concerned neighbor, Zhang Apo, peers out, her eyes wide with surprise at the mountain of goods. "Yunshu, what are you doing? So much food for just you and your mother. It will spoil." Yunshu's smile holds a hint of something new. "Zhang Apo, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell meals." Alarm creases Zhang Apo's face. Sell meals? Not work at the factory anymore? The iron rice bowl, the coveted factory job, the symbol of security, is paramount in their community. Zhang Apo's advice is immediate, urgent. You must be a worker. That's how you avoid hunger. Yunshu, carrying rice and meat, offers a reassuring smile. "Zhang Apo, I'll bring you a bowl when I'm done. You'll see how delicious my cooking is." She moves with surprising strength, a quiet determination in her eyes. She has a plan. Neighbors watch her, exchanging knowing glances. They know the whispers, the shame of being fired from the factory, especially a job inherited from her father. The weight of their judgment hangs in the air, heavy and unspoken. Zhang Apo, bless her heart, clutches Yunshu's hand. "That old woman will feast tonight, but come home early. a married woman shouldn't always eat at her mother's. And listen to me, be a worker. It's the most honorable thing. Yunshu's smile is a gentle mask, hiding the storm within.